I distinctly remember I was still high on the anesthesia, and the doctor telling me about it, that it confirming the UC, and I said, I'm going vegan. My mom was sitting next to me, and he laughed. He laughed at me.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he said, diet has nothing to do with it. It was really disheartening, I would say, just because this is a Harvard-educated specialist. He's supposed to be the expert. Toxic drugs, biologics was a conversation they started to want to have with me, and I said absolutely not. It's not an option. So I decided to go back online and research again. And this time I found High Carb Health. Thankfully, I found the program to just be really brilliant and digestible. No pun intended, in terms of breaking it down. The number one thing, right? The body is self-healing.
Yeah.
And what was really, really great is that this realization that there is nothing wrong with you. I remember preparing for the worst. I remember telling my family, my boyfriend, my friends, I'm going to get sick, and things are going to get worse before they get better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a part of the process. That is how the body is going to heal. Yeah, exactly. I went on the healing diet, and I felt amazing. It was as if someone put a new battery inside my body. Mentally, there were two things that got me through it. First being you. You were great. You could see that I was shaken and that I was rattled. Gave me the support that I needed and the reassurance. I realized, I just come out, I could sleep at night, and it wasn't disruptive anymore. Well, first, I feel great. I feel like we've cracked the code of this, and it feels so good, especially as we progress week by week. Your bowel movements are easy, effortless. So it was, I'd say, great to have the weekly support and guidance from someone who had the perspective of helping hundreds of people. Like you said, I had a second wave, and if I was doing this by myself, I would feel lost. I'm actually a painfully private person, and I feel a newfound responsibility, right, to share my experience with others in a similar position, since it is so hard to find information on a natural solution. If you've found, High Carb Health, you're watching the testimonial, and you're considering it, do it.
Give this video a thumbs up if you know what it's like to live with IBD, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. This channel is designed to help people recover from colitis, Crohn's, and any other form of IBD. You can always head to our website, highcarbhealth.com, for a free 30-minute consultation from anywhere in the world. And remember, there is a life after colitis. Hello everyone, it's testimonial time, and I'm joined by Nicole, who now has a life after ulcerative colitis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so today we are going to celebrate Nicole's journey about how she's been able to do what most people think medically impossible, which is heal and reverse the ulcerative colitis that she was diagnosed with in 2018. So Nicole, if I just get you to start off with talking about your journey on how you found out that you had ulcerative colitis, and then kind of the lead up to, getting diagnosed and things like that.
Sure. So it started, I'd say at first I had seen blood, but didn't think anything of it, since it wasn't, disruptive at all. I had regular bowel movements, but it wasn't until one night that I became very bloated, and I had these urges to go to the bathroom, and I just had a new cashew yogurt that I'd tried. I'd tried a new kombucha a couple of days before, so I thought, okay, maybe I'm having some sort of a reaction to this. But the problem was it lasted over a week. And I thought, okay, maybe this is a one-time thing. I really didn't want to dwell on it. And then these episodes, is what I would call them, happened 3 or 4 times again in the next 6 months. And then I knew, okay, something was wrong, and I needed to get it checked out.
Right. And so what did you do from there? you obviously went to the GP, and what kind of responses did you get from your medical team?
Yes. So I actually went to a gastro
Okay.
enterologist immediately because I knew it had to have been focused on that area.
Mm-hmm.
And he ran the standard test. So he looked for the blood work markers, calprotectin
Mm-hmm.
in my stool, and then the colonoscopy. And everything pointed to UC, like my calprotectin was over 600.
Mm-hmm.
I was positive for the markers. And, immediately after my colonoscopy, he confirmed that it was UC, that it was mild. It
Mm-hmm.
only affected like the lower part of my colon. And the thing was, UC isn't anything new to me because
Right.
my aunt had it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was familiar with it, but I was very surprised because her symptoms were much more disruptive,
Mm-hmm.
and they felt different from mine. And I distinctly remember I was still high on the anesthesia, and the doctor telling me about it, that it confirming the UC, and I said, I'm going vegan. My mom was sitting next to me, and he laughed. He laughed at me.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he said, diet has nothing to do with it. But he did admit to avoid like processed meat,
Mm.
which already was something that wasn't a part of my diet. I actually didn't eat meat. I didn't eat
Mm.
dairy. I would have fish or eggs like on occasion. Like I didn't keep them in the house. I would
Mm.
have them when I was out. But otherwise, it was mainly like plant-based,
Mm-hmm.
with some, say, minimally to moderately processed, plant foods.
Mm.
It was really disheartening, I would say, just because this is a Harvard-educated, specialist. He's supposed to be the expert, and I would find that over the next year of my journey that he wasn't an exception. I
Mm.
spoke to, I think, nearly 8 different
Wow.
doctors.
Wow.
And any time that I would try to engage them in a conversation about diet, I would say, "Oh, I'm eating this. I'm not eating. I'm avoiding this." They would all roll their eyes,
Mm.
um, like I was talking to a wall.
Right.
It was so frustrating.
Okay, and then obviously they put you on the medications, and what kind of medications were you taking, and how did you feel on them?
Yeah. So he gave me an anti-inflammatory, right, which tends to be like the level 1
Mm-hmm.
go-to
Mm-hmm.
um, patient. And I really struggled with the decision. I ultimately decided, okay, I'll take this short term. It will help me put water on the fire. But what I really wanted to do was turn the gas off.
Mm.
Uh, so I went home at that point in time and I did a lot of research. I went online. I read everything I could. I came across SCD. I read a book on that. I ended up with a paleo naturopath.
Mm-hmm.
I read Dr. Klein's book,
All right.
um, and I figured, what I was doing wasn't working, right? Because it brought me to this position. I need to change, but I needed help navigating what needed to
Mm.
change.
Mm.
Um, Dr. Klein's book made the most sense to me,
Yeah.
but it was so intimidating, and I know many other people are in the same position and feel that way too.
Yeah.
And as someone, I'm a rule follower as well,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt so impossible. So what I tried to do is in everything that I read, I tried to find the commonalities between it all, and try to design
Mm.
a program for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I incorporate more bananas, have more fresh juices, more squash. But then I took, supplements from my naturopath. I also did acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
I was about that too. Uh, I kept a daily diary to try to, like identify what are my trigger foods. I
Mm.
was really vigilant about labels,
Mm-hmm.
really trying to eat just whole foods.
Mm-hmm.
Still ended up with no meat and no dairy. That was non-negotiable to me, but what probably was the worst part is I ended up eating more eggs because of it, more nuts, more fat, and I cut out grains and legumes.
All right. All right. And, obviously that's quite a significant change, and most people would consider that to be quite a healthy diet, which obviously we know that it's not, especially if you're using lots of eggs and a very high fat diet. We've made plenty of videos on that. People want to check them out. But how did it make you feel? Like, was there a little bit of improvement, but still symptoms, or did it make you feel worse? Or, yeah, tell us.
So it felt like it was working. So over the next year, I ended up weaning myself off of the anti-inflammatory, being good for a few months, and then having
right,
and then going back on the anti-inflammatory, weaning myself off, good for a few months, and then everything hit the fan in November 2019. So it was like exactly a year after my diagnosis.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting point you make, because certain dietary changes can actually like make your symptoms dissipate for a while. Extra fat in the diet and some sorts of high fat diets, they can actually stop your body from doing certain healing work, which means you kind of relieve yourself of the symptoms. It's like a short-term fix. And what happens in the end is that, yes, you feel some relief, but then eventually it will kind of come to an end. You'll just, like, as you experience. So kind of what happened, like, what were your symptoms like in that time in November?
Yeah, it was terrible. I had a toxicity crisis. So I was in a ton of pain. My CRP was at 58. Had a hard time, like, walking, just moving. I just felt very uncomfortable, and I had bowel movements like I've never had before. More so what I would traditionally have associated with UC.
Yeah.
I lost a ton of weight, which was scary to me because I'm not a very big person. I'm quite thin. I'm 5'8", like 118 pounds, and in a week and a half, I lost close to 7 pounds. And it was always my worst fear to end up in the hospital. You people's journeys and experiences with this disease, and more often than not, that is part of it. And I was so stubborn. I really didn't want to end up in the hospital, and I fought it for as long as I could. But it was unavoidable at that point in time. So I ended up in the hospital. To add insult to injury, I had gastritis, as well as another colonoscopy to show that my UC had escalated and went from mild to severe. So my entire colon was infected.
Yeah, so all that time that you thought you were doing the right thing, it was actually behind the scenes. Your the inflammation was getting higher and the ulceration was getting worse, and then eventually, when the body built up enough energy, it was like, right, let's do this, and you end up, I mean, it's not an uncommon story. You're not the only one who's had kind of situations like this. So, okay, so tell us about the hospital experience.
Oh, it was horrible. It was so bad. I spent a week in the hospital. And when I was in there, I vowed I would never be in that position again. There were so many parts of it that were terrible, but one thing that really stands out to me was the food was itself poison, which I think is the irony of it all, right? They tried to feed me, white bread, deli meat. I took pictures of it, and I felt like a prisoner in that sense. I refused to eat it. So fortunate, my best friend and my boyfriend would cook me food, cook me potatoes, zucchini, carrots, and bring it to me so that I can eat something wholesome and nourishing, and not going to exacerbate my situation.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then obviously they must have stabilized you and got you out of there.
Yeah.
And what happened after that? Like, obviously, maybe you started looking for other alternatives, or what happened?
Yeah. It's funny because so they put me on prednisone.
Mm-hmm.
I figured I need to take it to calm my body.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was released, I went to
I like how you said that.
the. It's true.
Yeah, yeah,
Like a prisoner.
yeah.
I went to the grocery store and I bought a bunch of fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember taking a picture and sending it to my mom, sending it to my boyfriend, and saying, this will be my medicine. Like
Mm.
this is what I'm going to be doing, because I tried to remember some of the principles of David Klein.
Mm.
Um, I toxic drugs, biologics was a conversation they started to want to have with me, and I said absolutely not. It's not an option.
Mm.
And for the long-term sustainability, I want to keep my colon as well.
Yes, yes.
So I decided to go back online and research again. And this time I found High Carb Health, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
I watched all of the testimonials. I find them so inspiring to hear other people's journeys like mine.
Mm.
And I still watch them to this day, right? Like they are what inspired me to commit to it. But also I did watch them during my journey,
Mm-hmm.
and I still watch them. I think they're amazing, and yeah, everyone is amazing for being a warrior in that sense.
Okay. And so that's obviously why you decided to join the program after watching all the testimonials. And yeah, you're not alone in that either. I think that everybody who decides to share their journey is very brave and inspirational to both myself and Shamiz, because it's not easy to talk about things that have happened to you, especially things that haven't gone well in the past. So, and especially talking about bowel health is not a topic that most people like to talk about, but I think it should be. And so, full credit to you for coming online and sharing your journey too. Um, yeah, so talk about the whole experience, like getting in contact with us and the consultation with Shamiz, and kind of the process from there.
Yeah, it was great. It was easy. It was natural.
Mm.
Um, I found the program to just be really brilliant and digestible. No, actually, no pun intended. In terms of breaking it down,
Yeah,
like into pieces,
yeah.
especially so overwhelmed by
Mm.
Dr. Klein's book.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was great. It was just seamless.
Yeah, and what did you learn from, just talk about the consult you have with Shamiz, and then talk about what you learnt from the initial kind of information pack that we send everyone.
Yes. Okay. So the consult with Shamiz was just a great opportunity to connect with someone who's been in the same position,
Hmm.
and found that to be really inspiring. And it's just great to relate
Hmm.
to someone like that. So
Hmm.
sharing my experience, showing that there is, of course, a life after this. It is the long-term sustainable option.
Yeah.
So that was really nice. And then once we got signed up and on board, the number one thing, right, the body is self-healing.
Yeah.
And what was really, really great is that this realization that there is nothing wrong with you.
Yes.
I think we have, right, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And you're different from other people, and you're not normal, but you learn, right, that the body is self-healing,
Hmm.
and it's trying to rid itself of the toxicity. I remember you saying your body has the energy now to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
this is what's unnatural for it. It's what's bad for it. So it was a great like realization
Yeah.
to have.
Certain things that are perpetuated in the way we look at IBD, inflammation is bad for you. No, it's not. Obviously you don't want it too long. Other things like, the body is attacking itself. No, it's not. you know? Yeah, why would it do that? So, once you understand what the body's trying to achieve through the whole healing process, then you have a much better understanding of what you're trying to do and why you're doing it. And I think that's one of the biggest learnings that most people get on the program anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly it.
All right, so you got all the information, you learned about what your body's trying to achieve. Talk about the healing journey and what that was like.
So I think like everyone, especially when you look at the testimonials, there's fear of the unknown, right? There's fear of like the detox. You don't know how bad it'll get, how
Mm-hmm.
long it'll be.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember preparing for the worst. I remember telling my family, my boyfriend, my friends, I'm going to get sick, and
Mm-hmm.
and things are going to get worse before they get better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a part of the process. That is how the body is going to heal.
Yeah.
So in terms of like my journey, what was interesting to me was that it happened in 2 phases,
Yeah.
which is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And I can go into like each. So like the first phase, since I was on steroids and you can't stop them, tomorrow, I scheduled for 2 months to reduce it over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I actually think that was beneficial. I think it helped support my body
Mm-hmm.
during this. And I think it made it a little bit more relatively mild, I guess. I also found that I didn't take all the liberties that I could have in the transition diet. I kept it quite simple from the start. So I think maybe that may have helped.
Yeah, and we'll just clarify that, the initial phase of the program is a transition phase. So the transition diet is the first part, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what you were doing while you were taking the medication,
Yeah.
just to prepare your body, eating clean foods, but not being so strict that you kind of have, just that really kind of elimination diet where there's only a few different things you can eat. Like you don't want to go on that for too long or too early in your journey, otherwise you'll kind of be like, where do you go from here?
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of carry on with how the transition phase went.
Yeah. I think in hindsight, it was relatively mild. In terms of how I felt and like some of the challenges that I had, first being conditioning my body to eat a lot more food. Because the volume of food is more than I was used to. So, that was a little bit of a challenge, and I think it would make me a bit nauseous because of it. I would get a little lightheaded sometimes. My energy levels weren't great, so I'd get tired, and that's just when you listen to your body and take a nap. Skin-wise, I had a little bit of acne on my face, dry skin around my lips. I got a nice cold sore, which was fun. Some more bowel movements, but not extreme. I tried one day 7 times, and it was just a short little window. And I lost some more weight, so maybe another 6 pounds or so.
Yeah. And yeah, it was a really interesting journey because you kind of got better reasonably quickly. And so we kind of started to move into the healing phase pretty quickly, didn't we? So you went on the healing diet for a bit and you were doing really well, weren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I went on the healing diet and I felt amazing. It was as if someone put a new battery inside my body. And again, at least my expectations were once you go on the healing diet, like things will get worse, right? Because that is really when you kick things into high gear.
Yeah.
But it went the opposite way. I felt incredible. And I was on the healing diet, I think for a couple of weeks. And then we started to transition me into post-healing.
Post-healing, yeah.
And I was great I looked back, I was great for a month and a half.
Yeah.
I'd already introduced all fruits and vegetables, grains, salads,
Mm-hmm.
and then one night I did a 180.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
like what happened was Nicole's body hadn't completely finished detoxifying and it had not enough energy to finish everything in one go. So, as it built up the energy again, it went
Mm-hmm.
for a second healing wave. And it doesn't happen very often, but, occasionally it does, and it did for you. And so, kind of talk about the challenges that you faced, like, because when you go through
Yeah,
the second one, it's not only the physical challenge, it's the mental challenge where you think, okay, maybe I don't have to deal with this any longer, and then you do.
that's exactly it. That was the hardest part because
Hmm.
I started to mentally beat myself up
Hmm.
because I thought, did I introduce too much too quickly? Like it really did rattle me mentally,
Hmm.
and I also thought, the worst is over.
Yeah.
I'm out of the woods. Like
Yeah.
I am into post healing, and yes, there are some challenges with reintroduction that could happen, but I
Hmm.
wasn't expecting it like
Hmm.
this. So
Yeah.
I experienced the more like classic, like I think detox symptoms
Hmm.
where my bowel movements were looser, they were more painful, and for the first time I was waking up in the
Yeah.
middle of the night to actually go,
Yeah.
which I never had to deal with before.
Hmm.
Um, but I found comfort. Well, you were incredibly supportive during that process because you could tell that it threw me off my game.
Yeah.
Because again, I didn't think it was possible.
You
Luckily, it
start to
lasted.
you start to doubt yourself, don't you? Because you're like,
Yeah,
oh, am I ever going to get over this? And you know, a lot of people, if you don't have guidance at that point, it's quite easy to give up. Oh, this is not going to work for me, and not fully understanding what the body's trying to achieve and why it's doing that. And so, talk about how long it lasted and kind of like how you kind of got through that physically and mentally.
yeah. So luckily, it lasted just 2 weeks.
Hmm.
Um, uh, mentally, there were two things that got me through it. First, being you. You were great. You could see that I was shaken and that I
Hmm.
was rattled.
Hmm.
Gave me the support that I needed and the reassurance that, hey, this seems like a second healing wave.
Hmm.
Um, and by reintroducing that idea, I started to reflect on, okay, well, are there other parts of my body that need to be healed?
Hmm.
And I've actually, in addition to UC, I actually have like a chronic leg issue that I've had for much longer, for like 10 years.
Yeah, so explain that because I was going to mention that
Yeah.
as something that was completely different to what we initially started working towards, but as something else that you had all the tests done for, didn't you? Just talk about this situation that you had with your leg.
Yes, complete medical mystery. So over the past 10 years, I've had chronic like lower leg pain. It's from like my knee resonates down. Um, I've been to all different types of specialists, every test you can think of,
Hmm.
uh, and no smoking gun. Nobody can identify what the issue is,
Hmm.
and that's also mentally quite draining on me because it was even more disruptive to my life, honestly, than the UC before it escalated,
Yeah.
because I was just in excruciating pain. Couldn't sleep sometimes, and it would come and go. And yeah,
Hmm.
when you said, "Hey, this is a second wave," I thought, "Has my leg hurt much recently?" Like the edge had started to come off.
Hmm. Because with the first wave, it didn't fully stop hurting, didn't
Yeah.
it? It would still come
Yeah.
and go. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it would. And I realized like the edge is coming off. I could sleep at night, um, and it wasn't disruptive
Hmm.
anymore.
Hmm.
Um, so that I found comfort in that. It's like, oh, my body now feels strong enough to really address that issue.
Yeah, it's yeah, it was quite fascinating when we came to that realization. Okay, maybe the second wave was trying to heal what's going on in the leg. The first
Yeah.
one got rid of a lot of the bowel issues, and then they came back because there's more toxins to be removed. And yeah, I remember you telling me, Shukul, my leg just doesn't hurt anymore, and that was like as the bowels started to get a little bit better, and you started to as I said, it's the waves, you got to ride it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and then obviously it started to get better, and the leg pain just since that point hasn't returned, has it?
No,
No.
it does. It's very, very mild,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it,
Not
you
like
can
it was.
tell. No, oh no, no, no,
Yeah.
not at all, not at all.
Okay. And so that was your kind of healing journey, isn't it? So it's like we did kind of start edging towards post-healing and we got a reasonable way through that. But we hadn't completed it. And so we just kind of like, okay, well, we'll pause that and we'll get back into healing because obviously there's more healing to be done. I think that's really important to understand. Like people don't, it's not just you can't just click your fingers for this kind of stuff. You've damaged your body over a long period of time, and some people
Hmm.
need 2 healing waves, some people need 3 healing waves. Most people only need one, thankfully. But hey, your body needs to do what it needs to do, and we just have to support that. And I think that's where the education and the support is. That's where it really kicks in. Because if you're doing it by yourself, like you're just like, what's going on here? Um, Okay, so then you obviously it got better again, and your bowels are like working really well, and you're feeling good again, and energy even better. I think you remember telling me than the previous wave, so you felt even better this time than you did the first time. You kind of felt better, um, and talk people through what we do um, a little bit around the transition back towards post healing now.
Yeah. So yeah, each week we introduce kind of like a new class, I guess, of food.
Mm,
Uh, we would do certain vegetables, certain fruits, grains,
mm,
um, salads, so raw vegetables, and legumes.
hmm.
Kind of last but not least.
Yeah.
Um, Being conservative, which I found uh, such a such a benefit from you, and
Yeah, yeah, because
more,
it's very easy to get very excited and rush into all sorts of different foods, and obviously, yes, it is challenging when I'm trying to like going, hey, hold on, Nicole, just not yet, not yet, not yet. But I think it's important that you take it slow,
yeah,
because as I say to people, you don't want to have to go through the whole thing again. You don't want to rush into things too quickly before your body's ready for it. But yeah, eating things that people with UC can never dream of, like raw salads and different types of fruits and so much fiber from the beans and the grains and things like that most people with UC just wouldn't dream of touching. So that's how we know that, if you can handle some of these foods as we go towards post healing, if you can handle them and your body's dealing with them well, then we know that a reasonable amount of healing has occurred. But yeah, also just discuss how your body felt as you kept adding these different foods and how the taste buds change. That's really something important to
I
talk
agree.
about.
Well, first, I feel great. Like
Mm.
I feel like we've cracked the code of this.
Yeah.
It's like it's a bit of a black box, right? Especially in the medical world, you can't
Mm.
really cure it.
Mm.
Um, and I love my morning juice.
Yeah.
I love smoothies. I make smoothie bowls. I love potatoes,
Mm.
uh, and it feels so good, especially as you progress week by week, to go into the grocery store and your world just opens up and opens up and opens up more.
Mm.
Um, Having the option of if you want to have this vegetable because it's in season, looks good, like you can, or these beans or whatever it may be.
Mm.
Uh, it's incredible to have the variety,
Yeah.
and it tastes amazing, and you feel great.
Mm. And what happens as because you go on this healing diet, which is very plain and obviously very strict, um, it resets you, doesn't it? Like you start tasting the foods like you never had before.
Yes, especially like, well, once I got into like the onion and garlic,
Hmm.
it was like a flavor explosion and spices and things like that.
Mm.
But yeah, fruit tastes sweeter, and you enjoy it more. I think it's something you took for granted
Hmm.
in the past, like oh, but now your body craves it.
Yeah.
It tastes good, it feels good. Same thing with vegetables too.
Yeah, excellent. All right. So now we've kind of got to the point where we're very confident that you've healed, and you've been able to introduce all the things back into your diet. So talk about how you are feeling and what your symptoms are like, and just what your life is like compared to what it was like when you were dealing with UC.
Yeah, no, I feel great. Like I said, I feel like I've cracked the code. Like I don't feel like there's any sort of shackles on me anymore, and you have a better understanding for your body, how it operates, what it needs to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it just, yeah, it feels amazing. Your bowel movements are easy,
Mm-hmm.
effortless, things that we don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
But you find a comfort in talking about with you. It's funny, and I think that's one of the incredible parts of working together is that there's this immediate comfort level, right?
Mm-hmm.
To talk about traditionally like these bodily functions that you don't want to talk about, you don't want to talk about publicly
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I
but
think
it
Shamiz and I are
helps.
trying to change that, because everybody has them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we've even gone to the lengths of showing what your bowel motions should look like after you heal UC. So I don't think we should think this is like a taboo subject, because the more people that don't talk about it, the more people wait longer before they get help, because they get blood in their stool, they don't want to talk about it, you know. But we should talk about it, and we should be open enough to understand that, every other human being on the planet has bowel motions too, and there shouldn't be anything that's like taboo about this topic. I don't think anyway. I think one of the things we want to do is, not make it as weird to discuss, what I mean, within reason. But yeah. So you're mentioning the support. I think maybe we can elaborate on that a little bit more because we haven't talked about it a huge amount. What what is included with, like what you're probably better to talk about it because I don't really understand it from a client's perspective. What it
Yeah.
means to you to have that support, and what does it feel like when you get regular contact and things.
Yes, yeah. So it was, I'd say, great to have the weekly
Mm,
support and guidance from someone who had the perspective of helping hundreds of people. Like
mm,
you said, like I had a second wave, and if I was doing this by myself, I would feel lost.
mm,
Um, so nice to have you as a sounding board, um, and to reassure or to approve,
mm,
um, and to ask questions about like, is this normal? Is this not normal?
mm.
I could get a better understanding for my body and take that with me for going forward for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was also a pleasure. I mentioned in terms of like that immediate comfort level,
Hmm.
which was really nice, to have these conversations.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. There's no judgment. There's just like
yeah,
really like there's no need for us to judge anybody for their decisions or their actions. And if you come from that place, then there's no need to feel awkward about anything.
yeah, yeah. It's like
Mm,
don't be shy. Like
mm,
if you have a question, ask it.
yeah.
Because I'm sure you've heard it before, and if you hadn't heard it yet, you'd probably hear it in the future, whatever it may be, and it benefits everyone.
Yeah.
And then yeah, in terms of being conservative, like
Mm,
it was really good to have you to um, make sure that my body was ready. To
yeah.
take next steps, to make changes, really looking for like the long term sustainability.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
There's
that's
more of a perspective in all of it. Like we tend to be a little bit more like in the now, I think. We
yes.
want things to happen as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So it's nice for that.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that I find when talking to people about the program is that the biggest kind of benefit is that when you talk to us, you kind of get to know whether what you're going through is okay, whether it's expected or whether it's not. And I think
Yeah.
if you're doing it by yourself, there's no way for you to know that. I mean, as you said, it's coming up to more than 450 people that we worked with in the last 5 years, and so it's like you can tell, okay, this is what most people experience. This is not what most people experience when you do something about this situation. And because unfortunately at this stage our doctors aren't understanding the whole healing journey that you have to go through, you need that kind of extra guidance to educate on what's going on. So I
Exactly.
think
And
that's,
that's
yeah. Yeah, I think that's just the biggest benefit from my understanding after talking to everyone, who goes through the program.
yeah, exactly. And that's why I felt so open and forthcoming about sharing um,
Yeah.
questions I had or experience things that I was experiencing,
Hmm.
because you have that perspective. Like, is this usual? Is it more of an exception?
Hmm.
One's detox can be a little different.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, obviously at this point, I want to say massive congratulations to you to get, to the point you are now where you've got a life after colitis. And I think it's important to talk about what, now that we know what your life is like and you kind of don't feel burdened by it anymore, just to end the conversation in terms of what advice would you give to someone who's sitting there watching you talk about how you were able to heal your journey? What would you tell someone who's in a similar place that you were when you were watching the testimonial?
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
it's funny, I've reflected on
yeah,
this because
yeah.
I took it all to heart for everyone else who shared there.
Mm,
And I think one thing to note is I'm actually a painfully private person,
mm,
um, and I feel a newfound responsibility, right, to share my experience with others in a similar position, since it is so hard to find
yeah,
information on a natural solution. So
mm,
paying it forward for
yeah,
what everyone else, you know, did for me.
yes,
Um, and first being, we look at doctors to be the experts, right? And I remember my dad saying to me, when I was in the hospital with the best intentions,
mm,
he said, "Whatever the doctor tells you," because he knows I'm stubborn, um, and I ask a lot of questions. But him traditionally looking, and doctors are the experts in the field and in my condition and what is happening.
mm,
But the reality is that they're not trained in
mm,
nutrition. This
mm,
is even gastroenterologists who just feels very illogical to the normal person,
yeah,
uh, and that they treat the symptoms and not the root cause.
mm,
So if you've come this far, if you've
yeah,
found like High Carb Health, you're watching the testimonial,
yeah,
and you're considering it, do it. Like, it takes discipline. It's a long-term commitment. There are no quick fixes, right? But the plant-based lifestyle doesn't only address, right, UC and Crohn's and chronic disease, but your body naturally thrives on it.
mm,
It reduces the risk of, the top causes of death. And if you even want to layer in there, it's better for the environment and it's more ethical.
mm-hmm,
It really is a win in
mm.
every way that you look at it.
Yeah, it's the only thing I've come across that's for me a triple win. Okay, like there's
Yep.
win-win situations, but this is win-win-win. Health, environment, and ethics. Like there's nothing bad about it, and I'm yet to come across a single shred of evidence to tell me that it is not the right thing to do. No one has ever been able to prove to me that this is something wrong that you're doing by choosing a whole food plant-based diet. So, absolutely, I think that was very well put. So yeah, thank you so much. And I think I think it should be noted that yes, you have had a lot of courage to come on and talk about your journey, and you are a private person. So I really applaud you for having the courage and coming and talking. I'm sure people will really benefit from your story, and Sham and I are very proud of you. So well done. You now have a life after colitis, and yeah, all the best for the future.
Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
thank you for all of your help. I couldn't have done it without you. And I actually found you a year ago. It would have saved me a little bit of pain. But
Yeah, as we say, it's always the right time. Every time you start something new, it's always the right time. So it wasn't the right time a year ago, but it was the right time when you did start. So, and you've done it. So well done. All right, everyone. Yeah, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you found Nicole's story inspirational, please give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on the comment section below, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please click on the subscribe button and the little bell notification icon that gives you updates on all our recent uploads. And, until next time, make sure that you eat plants and lots of them. Take care.